Okay, the mayor's called the meeting to order. So on the roll call, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calandrillo,
Here.
Councilmember Erin Delaney,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney,
Here.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Here.
Okay, we have 4 ayes and 1 absent, which means a quorum is present for this regular meeting of the Garfield City Council, which is being held today, which is Tuesday, December the 8th, 2020. This meeting is being held in accordance with provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act and under guidelines set forth by the New Jersey Division of Local Government Services in an email dated March 12, 2020, and in accordance with Executive Order 104 issued by Governor Phil Murphy, and in accordance with Local Finance Notice number 2020-21, issued September 24, 2020, for remote meetings held during a declared emergency. Adequate notice has been provided by mail, fax, and email to the official city newspapers and to other interested parties, and by posting the meeting notice on the bulletin boards in City Hall and the front and back doors of City Hall and on the city website. Excuse me. A special public notice was published in the December 4th, 2020 edition of the Bergen Record and Herald News newspapers, advising of this meeting being held remotely, and the public was also directed to the city website for guidance in order to participate and watch and participate. At this time, if everyone would please rise, we'd like to begin with a flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a short prayer. Heavenly Father and Almighty God, during this gift-giving season, we give praise and thanks to you, the author of every good gift. Look with favor on this mayor and city council and its administration, that through their actions, your people may be guided and directed in righteousness and in unity. And we ask these things in your name. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Can we remain standing for just one moment? And I would ask everyone for a moment of silence. We recently lost Laura Stanchfeld. Laura was an employee here in our municipal court for many years. She did a wonderful job. She was also the sister of the chairperson of our redevelopment agency, Art Andriano. Laura will be missed by all city employees, and I would just ask for a moment of silence in her memory. Thank you, everyone.
Mr. Mayor, pursuant to local finance notice number 2020-21, I have to read the following, which says that all participants are muted during this meeting. Members wishing to make a comment during this remote meeting will be permitted to do so using the audio and/or video technology under which this remote meeting is being held. Members of the public may submit written comments to the mayor and city council through the city clerk by either email to apavlicka@garfieldha.org or written letter to city clerk Andrew J. Pavlicka at City Hall, 111 Outward Lane, Garfield, New Jersey, 07026. Written comments must be received by 12 noon of the day of the remote meeting to be included in the meeting. Public comments will be read aloud along with the person's name and address during this times designated during the meeting for public participation. The mayor and council reserve the right to pass over duplicative written comments. However, each duplicative comment shall be noted for the record with content summarized. A member of the public wishing to speak during a remote meeting shall state their name and address for the record prior to making their comments and will be limited to 3 minutes. Members of the public commenting during a remote meeting shall not act in any manner to disrupt the meeting. If such a member of the public becomes disruptive during the meeting, the individual chairing the meeting shall mute or direct the muting of the disruptive member and warn that any continued disruption may result in the member being prevented from speaking during the meeting or be removed from the remote meeting. Disruptive conduct shall include, but is not limited to, sustained inappropriate behaviors such as shouting, interruption, and the use of profanity. Any member who continues to be disruptive after receiving a warning may be muted, while other members of the public are allowed to proceed with their comments. If time permits, the disruptive individual shall be allowed to speak after all other members of the public are provided an opportunity to comment. Should the individual remain disruptive, the individual may be muted or kept on mute for the remainder of the remote meeting or removed from the meeting. And the chair may take any reasonable procedure or rule determined to effectively chair the meeting.
Thank you, Joe. All right, quick on the coronavirus update. As of today, we have 26 positive cases, bringing our total to 1,817 in Garfield. We also have 2 deaths in the month of December due to the COVID virus. So let's keep their families in your thoughts and prayers, especially during these holidays where it's tough to lose any loved members or loved ones. So please keep them in your thoughts and prayers. There is a vaccine that's supposed to be coming out next week, and according to all the officials, that each municipality will be getting a certain amount of vaccines. I believe it's in Leonia where everything is being stored, and because they purchased the refrigeration to store these vaccines, you have to have certain refrigerations from 70 to 90 below, and they'll be storing that. So our municipality would be going over to Leonia, picking it up, and they would have 5 days basically to distribute these vaccines, from what I was told. And at first it will be healthcare workers and then first responders. And then they'll go back 21 days later for a second vaccine. There's still a lot of talk on how that will be distributed to our health department. There'll be nurses, volunteer nurses from, or paid nurses from Hackensack University. And right now, that's just all being discussed. What we do know is that we'll be getting our shares, but we just don't know how much. We just don't know how much, and that's still up in the air by our county executive, and how much the state will get for the vaccines. And again, and also being discussed is a voluntary, or do our residents or our first responders and our health officials, is it open to them or just our residents? So there are still some guidelines that have to be put in place by the state. With that, again, keep everybody in your thoughts and prayers, wear your mask, wash your hands, keep a social distance away from each other. And it's your responsibility to just know where you're going and who you're with, and stay healthy for your family and your friends. Thank you. City Manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The first item I have on my agenda this evening is the Coronavirus Relief Bond Act. I had indicated in an email sent to the governing body dated November 20th that on the revenue side of the budget, our revenues are down. This is happening all over the state. It's happening in our counties. It's happening in our state government. Our property tax collections are down by $650,000. Sewer fees are down by $150,000. Court fees are down by $540,000. Fees and permits are down by $80,000. Construction fees are down by $80,000. That means there's a total decline in revenues anticipated of $1,500,000. Additionally, when we did our budget, we anticipated that we would receive $3.2 million in revenues in the water department. Unfortunately, based on current projections provided by Mr. Rigatano, it looks like we will collect about $2.7 million, leaving a shortfall of $500,000 in the water account. That means that we would be short $1.5 million in the general account and $500,000 in the water account. As a result, I met with Mr. Rigatano and with Mr. Lurch so that we could take advantage of something that the legislature passed. The legislature passed this unanimously, and that was the Coronavirus Relief Bond Act. We have the ability to go out and bond short term. We would, for next year, there is no payment required. Starting in year 2022, our payments would be $400,000 per year for the next 5 years. Mr. Lurch confirmed at the last meeting that borrowing would be able to be at a very, very low interest rate. Mr. Rigatano met with me earlier today, and he confirmed that today as well. So this evening, I'm asking your support of the bond ordinance to address this. At the last meeting, I did ask publicly, I did report that I had asked both our auditor and our finance officer if I would be able to borrow that money from my surplus. I thought that because we had a healthy surplus, I could borrow against the surplus. You will recall that we were advised in that last meeting that we cannot borrow against the surplus, that would have a negative impact on our bond rating. And again, that money was cheap. So those were the comments that were made. Mr. Lurch or Mr. Rigatano, do you have anything to add? Okay, so I'm going to move on.
Simply,
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Lurch. I'm sorry.
yeah, I was just going to make a comment that simply many municipalities that we represent are taking advantage of this bond act, and it's very similar to what the state is doing when the state had the authorization to do the $2 billion to plug the revenue shortfalls that are a result of the the COVID pandemic. So this is no different than what the state's done, and many municipalities are taking advantage of the same thing. As a point of view, it's a sound fiscal prudent method for the city of Garfield to undertake at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Lurch.
On the report, I have a question. Tom,
Yes.
you said you can't borrow on the surplus, but can you place surplus in there?
No, I would have to take the surplus out. Mr. Lurch or Mr. Rigatano, can either one of you address that?
No, that's correct, Tom. Essentially, when you started the year, you had $8.9 million in surplus. We used to support this budget $3.9 million in surplus. So the city has $5 million surplus that will carry forward to next year from the expenditures.
All right, I took the liberty of asking the CFO for our balances, Dieter, and we come very close to $10 million. So my question is, if all our bills are being paid this year and we have not have any deficits, why can't next year we tap into surplus if necessary instead of bonding?
We already will have to tap into surplus because our budget, as you know, by putting the $3.9 million in from this year's surplus, we automatically have to come up with the same $3.9 million before anything else. So we're going to tap into the surplus. This gives us the flexibility that we need to be able to keep our employees working. That has been my goal since the beginning of this pandemic. Everyone in the city that works for us still has a job, and I would like to keep it that way.
I see that, Tom, but we still have about a $5 million surplus in one account, and that number could possibly grow. Because have we been deficit in any of our accounts? Have we ran out of money? And because we're now another 2 weeks for the end of the year. Where do we stand financially? What do we anticipate that we could carry over into surplus? Because $10 million is a lot of money. And we've never, and throughout my 24 years, we've never borrowed money to pay bills for the next year. Never. Even when we had $250,000 in our surplus account when we first started in 1996, we never borrowed money to pay bills. But if we're not short on bills and we're not having a deficit on paying our bills, I just don't know what the need is. And if we do have a $10 million surplus, I just, in all honesty, I think next year is another year. There'll be different people up here. And I think that's going to be the time to address it. So I'm not going to support it at this point.
Mr. Rigatano, you were going to comment?
Well, that $10 million really is becoming $6 million because you're going to have to offset the 3.9 this year with 4 next year. By not approving this, the $2 million, you are devastating this city for next year. That's all I could tell you. I'm doing this 35 years. I have never in my career been in this devastation in any town than we are right now. In fact, not due to anyone on this council, but because of the virus. It is going to be, quote, devastating next year without approval. That's all I could tell everyone.
We will be able to bond next year, Roy.
No, you can't.
Why not?
Because if you don't pass it by December 31st, you cannot use this emergency. I called the division today and I got clarity. Dieter, can you chime in on that? Because I did speak to Cindy Lindsay. Quote,
I was asked the same question when the city council introduced this ordinance 2 weeks ago. And that was also my opinion that you would have to adopt this ordinance in the calendar year 2020, because what this ordinance really does, it really provides the monies to cover the shortfall that the city's incurring in calendar year 2020. Mind you, the shortfall is happening right now, not in 2021. The shortfall in collection of taxes is a real item right now, and that's because of the pandemic. People are having difficulty paying their taxes. The municipal court has had a dramatic effect for the last 5 months. Twofold. Number one, the court wasn't able to write as many tickets for safety reasons. So Roy is 100% correct. The ordinance, in order to backfill that shortfall, has to occur in calendar year 2020, which is the same year the shortfall is occurring. And go ahead, Tom.
Can you also address the cost of borrowing? Either one of you?
Yeah, the cost of, yeah, please. The cost of borrowing on a $2 million special emergency. The city's got a AA rating, which is higher than the state's rating. The state has a BBB rating. Just to put that in perspective, the cost of borrowing is going to be approximately 0.5% per year. So the cost of that on a $2 million loan will be $10,000.
So Dieter, we'll be paying, we bond $2 million. We'll be paying back $10,000 over, I guess that's over a 5-year period. Am I correct?
$10,000 per year on the $2 million, and then it would be less when you borrow less. Yeah.
Okay.
Dieter,
Frank, I'm sorry. I'm trying to understand why you want to support such a bond, because this will prevent the city from laying off employees in the next calendar year. I mean, you're talking about going into our surplus, but the surplus is already going to be tapped into next year as well.
Mayor, this is not going to lead into any layoffs, in my opinion. Let me just go back. Mr. Lurch, you mentioned about the tax collections. Right along, Mr. Dutch telling us our percentage on the first quarter was 98%. Second quarter was 98.6. Third quarter was 97.9. The fourth quarter, as of about 2 weeks ago, was at 92. So the tax collections are there. And the water account, let me just give you the surpluses. The surpluses that I was given, we have in our current surplus, we have about over 5 million. In our water operating, we have 2.9, so let's say 3. In our water capital, we have 262,794. In our water capital, we have just shy of $2 million. So the city has the money. The city next year, if they need the money, they could take some surplus and they could balance their books. We all know that the courts are going to be coming back online. They're going to regenerate the funds. Roy, you even had that conversation with me back in March, saying, once the courts get back, they're going to replenish the funds. So I won't be here to see how the money's spent. So it's going to have to wait till the new council gets there. And I'm firm on that, my position.
I think that's just irresponsible and sorry.
Is it correct that if we can't bond, there may be layoffs next calendar year?
Mr. Mayor, our problem is, and what Mr. Calandrillo says is somewhat disingenuous, because what happens is, yes, there's $5 million in the current account. There's $2.9 million in water operating, $262,000 in general capital, and $1,790,000 in water capital. So that is correct, $9,997,000. But for the benefit of the citizens who happen to be listening, at the beginning, you heard that we used $3.9 million of last year's surplus. So what does that mean? Going into the next budget year, you must use that same $3.9 million. So now your 997 goes down to $6 million. So your surplus is already considerably reduced. So what do? You start to impact your bond rating. When you impact your bond rating, you impact the cost to the citizens. When you impact the cost to the citizens, their taxes go up. So there's just so much that the people can afford to pay. So I can't sit here and suggest that we raise the taxes astronomically. This is an amazing opportunity that's been given to us by the New Jersey legislature. It is being used up and down the state by responsible governments to respond to their people, to protect the people who work for them, and to protect the people who live in their communities. Yes, Mr. Calandrillo is right. I have presented the tax statistics, but Mr. Lurch has pointed out to me and Mr. Rigatano that a 1% reduction in tax collections is a loss of $650,000. I began my comments tonight by reporting to you and to the public that on November 20th, I advised the entire council that we were looking at about a $650,000 negative number in tax collections. In terms of the court depends on tickets that are given. I will tell you that at the beginning of the pandemic, with the separation of our police department and our police department not stopping people, being afraid to stop people and to give them summonses, that the number of summonses that were given decreased dramatically as a result. We had to make a decision, keep our police officers safe, keep our police officers responding to ambulance calls, which went from 120, 130 a month to more than 450 a month, requiring all kinds of police assistance and police time. We also discontinued street sweeping. We discontinued a lot of things that generate a lot of revenue. So the revenue losses are real. They're real. And it is responsible government to turn around and to borrow $2 million at a cost of $10,000 a year. Think about that. $10,000 a year to preserve everyone's job. I will tell you that I have requested from the finance office and personnel and received. I have requested and received lists of the last 5 employees hired, white collar, blue collar, police union, because I'm good at what I do, but I'm not a magician.
That Councilwoman Delaney.
You're on mute.
Sorry, Tom covered all that I was going to say because in his detailed reports at the last meeting and via email, because we are 97%, it's still a huge burden and a huge loss to the city with our tax collection and everything he just said. And for someone that votes against this, I think shame on you. It's a huge disservice. I work in 2 municipalities. They have adopted this ordinance. It's not something that you can pass the buck on and wait until the next year, because this is an opportunity that's time sensitive. And, kudos to Tom. You're gonna have, you said it perfectly.
Thank you.
Hopefully it doesn't come.
These are, Frank, I would like you to reconsider. These are our experts. These are the people that you worked with for years, that you've trusted, from Dieter to Roy, and you valued their opinion, and now you're going against it. I would like you to reconsider your.
I'm going against it. I'm saying you're going to have to make that decision next year. I have sat on an administration that has given me absolutely no respect. I don't receive any information on what's spent. I don't receive any information on what's going to be spent. And this is, and now you're coming to me to cast a vote that could amount to $2 million more in taxes for the public going forward. You're going to have to wait till next year, Mayor.
So I guess
You can't wait until next year.
That's my position, Mayor.
Because you think you didn't get respect for the last 4 years or 20 years, or you didn't get information. You got more information than I got.
No, that's not true, Mayor. That's not true. You know what?
If that's the way you want to vote, then that's the way you're going to vote.
Then, transparent means sharing everything amongst all 5 council people. But anyway, that's not the point. Mayor, I'm not going to vote for it.
You're going to at a disadvantage because you're crying and complaining about not winning the election.
Let's just make him embarrassed.
You're going to lay off a lot of people because you're upset.
No, you're not, Mayor. Mayor, I'm going to tell you one thing. Mayor, even when we had 250,000 in surplus, we didn't lay anyone off back then. Okay? You got to watch. I'm gonna tell you one thing, Mayor. Mayor, why even we had discussion on the events committee, and you tried to make it where I made the events volunteers horrible. But there's an account there with the city ID, has a city ID, and this account is not even in part of our audit of which you are involved with. So you know what, Mayor? Again, my position is firm.
Everyone on the events committee are adults and they could read emails and make opinions for themselves. So if they thought that you look bad, you made yourself look bad. You have received answers to more emails than I have in these last 4 years. Tom Dutch sent a 30-page email to some of your requests. It's disgusting. Both shame on you and shame on Mr. Loya for not being here. In the 24 years, you've never faced a pandemic like this. It's disgusting. Let's move on, Mayor, because he's obviously not voting for it. Why waste our breath?
Anything I send in emails, because my questions never get answered. I have to
Okay.
send 5 emails. I have to send 5 emails to get 1 question answered. And I have to say it 5 different times because I don't get no answers at all. So
Well, at least yours get answered because mine don't, because they're too busy having to write reports for you that take friggin' weeks.
Everything they do. That's the bottom line. You send an email out, you want Tom to drop everything and answer your email.
not true, Mayor. Mayor,
You send your opinion to City Hall to over everything. That's the bottom line.
Mayor, that's not true.
Oh,
Stop
that is true, Frank.
Stop your
That
misinformation.
is true. But you know what? You'll end up crippling the city because
No, I'm not.
you're trying to lose that you lost.
The city is your
That's the bottom line.
yourself and your spending habits.
Our spending habits. I don't know. I think Tom does a pretty good job. We have a great surplus over here. I have a pandemic right now, and every municipality is taking advantage of this. And the experts, people you worked with for 24 years, that's it, sign out. For 24 years, you'll watch it again. You worked with Dieter and Roy for 24 years. You value their opinions. Now their opinions don't mean nothing. Because why? You either lost or you didn't get your answers quick enough.
Mayor, it comes down to this. He wants to make us look bad and have taxes raised for the next few years while we're on the council and he's not. Let's just move on. It's not worth it.
I agree.
Mayor, can I suggest something?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
All
I
right,
can.
well, we all know where Mr. Colangelo stands, and we all know the reason that he's doing it. He'll sit there in his big house, that's a 2-family, and not worry about employees that's going to be getting laid off. But as long as he's comfortable in that big 2-family home that he owns, maybe we should just put this on hold, table it, and hopefully Councilman Aloya will be at the next meeting and we'll get his vote. Because we see where Frankie's going, and we all know how Frankie is. Frankie's always been a vindictive, spiteful person his entire life, and that's the only reason why he's doing this. So he's going to vote no. That's fine. So what you do is table it and see if you can get Mr. Aloya at the next council meeting before the new year. If not, then it's the people that's going to suffer, and that's just the way it is. And that could be Mr. Calangelo's legacy that he wants to leave behind. But that's, that's his own choice.
Good words, Deputy
Mayor.
Great point, Deputy Mayor.
We'll move on. City Manager's report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. You also have before you this evening a resolution which is to accept the grant funding that we have received for the playground at 20th Century Field. That's a special needs playground. I worked on that with Mr. Boswell. We have the grant and we have the outright grant, and we have a small loan in connection with that. I ask your support of that resolution. It was mentioned that the zoning board was behind. I did check into it. I sent you all an email. There was some indication that there were some 30-some cases behind. As it turned out, there's something like 12 or 14 cases behind. The matters have been transferred to the capable hands of Alyssa Semino, planning board attorney, who will step in and handle the zoning board until they get caught up. So I want to thank her for doing that. On health insurance and the prescription insurance increase, as discussed at the last meeting, the increase was very large. We did have our meeting with the employees. We have our second session with the unions tomorrow. That'll be the white collar, the blue collar, the PBA, and the library unions. They were all given the opportunity to present written questions Monday, over the weekend, Monday and Tuesday. They were given till noon today. The white collar questions arrived at 3:17 today. We did forward them on to the insurance consultant, and all questions will be answered tomorrow in a session which I and Mr. Lavin will be on with all 4 of the unions. That'll also be a Zoom meeting. So that'll take place tomorrow. I have received a couple of requests for league subsidies. My position has been that any league that did work and did provide services to the children will get their subsidy. Any league that did not open or play at all this year will not get their subsidy. I want to publicly thank the Sheriff's Department for their assistance. You probably have seen sheriff's cars and state police cars in the city. We had a instance in the police department where some 18 officers were quarantined. That affected every single shift. Sheriff Curitin from Bergen County stepped right up at our request. He provided 2 additional patrol cars for each shift, round the clock. I sent the sheriff a thank you letter on behalf of the governing body, but I just want to publicly acknowledge him because he really came to our aid at a time of need. We did receive a proposal on a municipal court collection service. That proposal has been sent to our finance officer, Mr. Igatano, for review, and also to our attorney, Mr. Ferrero, for a review. Once they approve, it will be submitted to the administrative office of the courts so that we can move forward with a municipal court collection service. I'd like to next talk about the lighting on River Drive, okay? This came up in the quality of life meeting. And yes, the lighting that we have on River Drive, we have beautiful lighting in phase 1 of the Riverfront Park. Unfortunately, what has happened is, and I don't know how good you're going to be able to see this. Well, you really can't see it at all. But if you look at the top here, there's this like black hat canister. 2 of our lights have gone out, and they do not have replacement parts at PSE&G anymore. So they put these like black caps that really are very unappealing. They put them on a couple of the fixtures. We set up a meeting, Sam set up a meeting, and I met with PSE&G. I'm happy to report that we are entitled to an upgrade of the lighting on River Road, and the lighting will look something like this. I apologize that I don't have it as a share exhibit. I didn't have time to scan it in. So the lighting will be more similar to what we have. The nice thing about that is because we're eligible for an upgrade, because it's been on River Drive for more than 5 years, we can now simultaneously put this lighting in on River Drive. We can put this lighting in on Passaic Street, on the Passaic Street Streetscape project, and we can put this lighting on phase 2 of Riverwalk. So that will be, that'll be just that. This way, everything will look uniform. It'll look good. It'll look like it's planned properly. Quality of life meeting that took place yesterday. The meeting resulted in a number of ordinance suggestions by Property Maintenance Inspector John Pinto. Mr. Pinto pointed out that because court is being conducted virtually, citizens should have the ability to pay a fine virtually. They should have the ability to pay a fine remotely. So in line with our software upgrade, which we hope to launch probably by late January, mid-February, I'm going to propose some ordinances, not me, the property maintenance people have proposed some changes to the ordinances to allow payment online, so Joe Citizen does not have to be have a burden placed on him or her by having to come to the city hall when court reopens. CARES Act submissions. We continue to report on CARES Act submissions. I will tell you now that tomorrow morning I have the union meeting. Tomorrow afternoon I will work on finalizing all the CARES submissions. They are due by 5 p.m. tomorrow. It is the end. So our CARES submissions have been excellent so far. They've been well received. I will tell you that initially we had $72,000 in expense for the continuation of the temporary police station. It was denied in the initial go-around. I reached out directly to County Executive Jim Tedesco. I provided him with a lengthy explanation. I appealed the decision of the committee to Mr. Tedesco and to Mr. Julian Niels, who is the county administrator. Mr. Niels has approved the appeal, and we will receive an additional $72,000 to reimburse us for that cost as well. We are anticipating everything we can. I'm happy to report that we are putting ionizers to clean the air in some of the buildings. We're putting air scrubbers in the other buildings. In the buildings, there's something called an economizer. Let me tell you, I knew nothing about this until the CARES Act. I now know that an economizer brings fresh air into a building. In our senior building, 2 of our economizers were completely shut down, and 1 was operating at 15%. Under the CARES Act, we will fully fund 3 brand new economizers in the senior building. We also have upgraded the internet in the senior building so that when we can reopen meetings to the public, we can consider opening them at the senior building where there's a lot of room, a lot of space. So the internet also has been upgraded there, again, through the CARES Act. So we've been trying to take advantage of the CARES Act as much as possible. Under the CARES Act, we are also upgrading all of the computer systems in each of our fire trucks so that every fire truck will have at a fire scene complete access to whatever records the city has, so they're not trying to guess what's confronting them in that neighborhood or in that house. If we have a plan, it will be on there. If we don't have a plan, you will know at least that it's a 2-family or a 3-family, or that there's a basement apartment suspected. You will know all that. And then finally, the last item I would like to report is fire company number 3 contacted me over the weekend. Santa drives around, stops at houses all over the city. Because of the pandemic, fire company number 3 is sponsoring a drive-through Santa visit. And for the citizens who are listening, December 12th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m., you drive into the parking lot by fire company number 3, wave to Santa, he'll wave to you. It's a drive-through Santa visit, so it's properly socially distanced and allowable under the circumstances. And then finally, tomorrow, the employees of the city have been invited to come in front of the city hall to socially distance 6 feet apart. The invitation was extended by the mayor, very similar to some of the news stations where all the newscasters get together and wish everybody happy holidays. We will be doing that at 3 o'clock tomorrow at City Hall. You are only welcome to attend if you wear a mask, if you stay at least 6 feet away from everyone else, and if you wear something red or green. 3 o'clock tomorrow. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Mayor, on his report, I have a question. Tom, we have a couple bills. The first one is the Green Acres for $160,000. What is that for? Is that replacing what we spent on the handicap park?
That's the special needs playground. Yes, Mr.
Okay,
Calendar.
so that's for that. What about the $9,000 for the census?
The $9,000 for the census, you will recall that we had applied for a census grant, and Councilwoman Delaney assisted us with a couple of mailings that we did citywide, and all of that was done at the cost of $9,000. So that was a grant that we received from the county.
Okay, and also the resolution 294, the 267,457. Maybe Roy wants to answer that.
No, I can talk about that. So that 267, that is part of the CARES Act money coming back to the city. As I have indicated to you, we have aggressively applied for every dollar we can. In all the time that I've been here, I've watched every dollar like it's my own. So we are making sure that under the CARES Act, every single dollar we're entitled to, we want to make sure we get. So that is in anticipation of that amount. We've received 2 amounts in already. Mr. Rigatano, you have anything to add? You're on mute.
Yep, there you go. No, like I said, between my office, Tom's office, every penny out there we're getting, whether it be from FEMA or whether it be from the CARES Act, we're going after it. And all those resolutions you see are what we call Chapter 159s, so that when we do receive the money, we replenish the budget. Again, just trying to plug holes for next year as well.
And what's
What we've done, just one more comment. So the CARES Act, we've been very selective in how we submit. Submissions are made by Lieutenant Michael Marsh, by Christina DeLeo of Mr. Rigatano's office, or by myself. So we've been able to coordinate and to watch and to mark every single voucher that is eligible for CARES Act to try to recapture as much money as we can, because the financial situation is terrible. So we you know, revenues are down. This is a way for us to improve, and we're improving, thank God, through federal money, through the CARES Act, which has been dispersed from the federal government to the state and then distributed to the counties. And then each county has come up with their protocol for distribution. So there is a portal that we log into and we submit our information. They submit any questions back to us if they have any questions. And again, that portal closes 5 o'clock tomorrow. So tomorrow afternoon, we will be frantically finishing up and getting every last voucher in that we can.
Tom, what is the total amount that we've received or recovered so far?
I'm going to estimate it's about 535,000, Mr. Rigatano.
Yes.
But bear in mind, we have spent that money, okay? We have spent that money. We now have a camera system installed at City Hall. We have a camera system installed in the library. We have, in connection with the camera system, the devices that record your temperature when you walk in. Those devices were recommended. They're used by the prosecutor's office. So we have modernized, under the CARES Act, what we have been able to modernize. So the software upgrade to allow Joe Citizen to access government 24/7, that entire software upgrade has been submitted and paid for through the CARES Act. The other thing that we did not have in our budget, and I was not aware of, our computers throughout the city have Windows 7. Everybody's operating under Windows 10. There is no more support for Windows 7. Because it was not in our budget, we were able to go out and to apply and to buy the necessary hardware so that we could upgrade all of our units to Windows 10. And again, CARES Act. That's not money we anticipated spending. It's money that we're spending because we are able to, and we're doing it so that we can enhance the citizens' experience with the government.
So basically, we've already made these purchases and we have not overspent our line accounts. Is that accurate, or?
Mr. Rigatano has to answer that.
Yes, there's no structural deficit in any of the line items. But also, to be fair to everyone that's listening to this conversation, we've also at the end of the year usually had anywhere from 500,000 to $1.5 million. If we close this year with $100,000 to pay the bills that come in December and January, we're going to be very lucky. We are at bare bones. This is the worst we've ever been fiscally. And again, no one's fault on this screen. It is clearly the pandemic.
And but basically, Roy, if we get this money replenished, then that would be something that we could apply to put into surplus. Yes or no?
No, that is a reimbursement, Councilman. Unfortunately, if there's any way to get some surplus, believe me, Dieter and I are on it. I've spent enormous amount of time trying to plug these holes, and it's just something unfathomable that's going on as a direct result of the pandemic.
And Dieter, you said some of your towns have opted for this, and which leads me to believe some have not. Is that correct?
That is correct. 100% have not. Many have, and 100% have not. That is correct.
100% have not?
No, your comment, 100% of my towns have not taken advantage of this, but many have. Your question was to me was, did every single town take advantage and do this? The answer is no.
Okay. All right. And Tom, on two different items. First of all, do we have 3 of our smart cars have accidents with our police?
2 of our smart cars had accidents.
Okay, because we did not receive any reports on that.
I normally don't report car accidents. If that's something the council wants me to do going forward, I don't report car accidents or claims that are made into the clerk's office. Never have.
All right.
17 years,
Lastly,
never have.
As the redevelopment director, is it true that 13 apartments have been asked to go on to the 105 on Passaic Street?
Not to me.
I understand the planning board has an application adding 13 more apartments onto the redevelopment project.
That's the first I'm hearing of it.
Can we-
I'm working on redevelopment agreements that are based on the prior approvals that have been granted by the planning board.
Could we please check that out with the planning board?
Sure.
I'm told that there is plans already submitted.
That's false. Nothing we heard in the planning board either.
Nothing at all.
I didn't hear anything.
All right, well, I was told that. So can you please get a clear answer to that, Tom?
Sure.
All right, that's about it for my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom, are you finished?
I am, Mr. Mayor.
To the engineer report, please. Kevin.
Thanks, Mayor. At the last meeting, I reported on well 8C. The permanent system needs to go online. The temporary system has allowed the well to operate for the past 2 years. So we submitted a bonding letter over to Roy, and right after the first of the year, we're recommending that you introduce past that ordinance so that we can go forward and do that project. There's a new type of contaminant that the state is regulating. They're called PFAAs, and well 1A has the system in place for it. Well 8C will have the system in place for it, and the Elmo Park well field will need to have a system installed to treat it. But the city is in good shape. The city has what we call 3 points of entry. So that's the third and final point. Just by way of comparison, Ridgewood has over 50 points of entry. So it's the city is their water system is in very good shape. The 2020 road program, we're just trying to get that one rain garden done behind the City Hall. That's the last thing to do before we shut down for the winter. That's the grant from Sustainable Jersey. And we were going to have it done by the last meeting on the 25th, and then the markout was not performed correctly by the markout company. I saw today it's painted out, and we're waiting for it to go. And then the last thing is that I have calls in the CDBG to move 2 projects that are currently awaiting final authorization, the one being the Monroe Street and Midland Avenue job. We need their approval to let that project go. And the second one is the Belmont Oval job to replace the turf there under state contract. We have some very favorable pricing that we secured on behalf of the city. That's it, Mayor.
Mayor, if I can, I would just like to add that Mr. Boswell is working with me to finish up the federal project, the federal money that we have on Passaic Street. A lot of the regulations have changed, and we are working on updating those final submissions. So that's a work in progress, so it can begin in the spring.
And they are changing the rules, and we're adapting to them.
Right.
We're in the third time around right now, but we're getting through it. It's a nice grant, $1.1 million.
It is a nice grant. All right, Drew, resolutions.
Okay, the very first resolution we have is one which accepts the resignation of Ryan Garrity of Fire Company Number 5. The resolution is signed by council members Joseph Delaney and Aaron Delaney. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calendrillo,
Aye.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney,
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. The next resolution is one which accepts Francisco Bermudez as an active fireman of Fire Company Number 5. The resolution is signed by council members Joseph Delaney and Aaron Delaney. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calendrillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney,
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. The next resolution is one which pays a widow pension to Roseanne Marandino. The resolution is signed by council members Joseph Delaney and Aaron Delaney. The roll call, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calendrillo, Councilmember Aaron Delaney,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney,
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. Next
Drew,
res-
can you read 283 and 284 together? Just use the same. for both
Sure.
of the names
The
together?
next two resolutions are ones which authorize monthly pension payments. One is to Arlene Sabat, and the other one is to Linda Yondolino. Both resolutions are signed by council members Joseph Delaney and Aaron Delaney. On the roll call for both those resolutions, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calendrillo,
Aye.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney,
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. The next resolution is one regarding supporting the Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over 2020 year-end holiday crackdown. This resolution is signed by council members Joseph Delaney and Aaron Delaney. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calendrillo,
Aye.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney,
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
We have 4 ayes, 1 absent. The next resolution is one for, it's a Green Acres enabling resolution. It's in regard to the 20th Century Field Playground. The resolution is signed by council members Joseph Delaney and Aaron Delaney. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calendrillo,
Aye.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney,
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. The next resolution we have is being held, has to do with the Department of Defense. The next resolution is one authorizing change orders 1, 2, 3, and 4 and final in connection with the project known as improvements to Grand Street, River Drive to Perry Avenue. The resolution is signed by council members Joseph Delaney and Aaron Delaney. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calendrillo,
Aye.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney,
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. The next resolution authorizes payment to DS Meyer Enterprises LLC. It's for emergency sewer repair at 475 Lanza Avenue. Resolution is offered by council members Joseph Delaney and Aaron Delaney. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calendrillo,
Aye.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney,
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. The next resolution is one for approval of items of revenue and appropriation, 48:4-87. This has to do $9,000 for the 2020 census. The resolution is signed by council members Joseph Delaney and Aaron Delaney. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calendrillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney.
Mayor, through you, can we do all the chapter 159s together?
Yes.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney,
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. The other chapter 59 resolutions, each one has to do with $5,500. It's for the New Jersey DWI Click It or Ticket Grant. The other one, the next one is for $48,755.05. It's for the State of New Jersey Neighborhood Preservation Program grant. The next one is for $1,800. It's for Spencer Savings Bank COVID-19 First Responder Grant. So they were all introduced by council members Joseph Delaney and Aaron Delaney. And one roll call on those resolutions.
That's 291 to 293. Am I correct? Oh, you don't have it.
It's 291, 292, and 293.
Yep. There you go.
Okay. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calendrillo,
Aye.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney,
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. The next resolution is one in regard to an additional, it is 159, sorry about that, guys. It's for $267,457.60. It's the CARES Act Coronavirus Relief Fund. And the resolution is signed by council members Joseph Delaney and Aaron Delaney. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calendrillo,
Aye.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney.
I'm sorry, Drew, which resolution was this?
That's the CARES Act.
294.
Aye.
Councilmember Joseph Delaney,
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. The next resolution is traditional ministerial resolution. We pass every year. It's the tax collection directives for the year 2021. The resolution is signed by council members Joseph Delaney and Aaron Delaney. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calendrillo,
Aye.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney.
I'm sorry, Drew, I keep losing, I keep hearing things in and out.
It's for the tax directives for the year 2021.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. The next resolution is a special emergency resolution, NJSA 48:4-53. It has to do with the CARES Act.
Is this the $2 million one?
No, it's not the $2 million one.
Thank
This
you.
is certifying,
That's our order. All right.
yeah.
There's a resolution that coincides with that ordinance, so this might be it and may need to be pulled.
That's what I was just thinking.
If that's the case, I move to table
Okay.
that.
All right, we will
We'll
table
table
that
it.
to next meeting. Okay. Resolution, next one is resolution authorizing the city engineer to conduct a site investigation on block 220, lot 9.01. The resolution is signed by council members Joseph Delaney and Aaron Delaney. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calendrillo.
Which one is that, Drew? I'm sorry.
The very last resolution that we have, it has to do with the site investigation for block 220, lot.
All right, that's not on our agenda, right?
I'm
Is
sorry,
this
say-
the Franchini property?
No, this is the piece of property that's where the railroad bridge is, where the
Yeah.
railroad bridge connects to the
I
city.
vote aye.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney,
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. Proceed with bills and claims, Mr.
Yes,
Mayor.
please.
Okay, resolved by the City Council of the City of Garfield that the following bills, number 2261 to 2262, covering police ice trust account and dog trust fund totaling $2,318.00. The current fund totaling $2,807,811.33. And the water fund, current fund totaling $19,320.95. And the general capital fund totaling $163,822.44. And the water capital fund totaling $1,484.00 per attached computer list be ordered paid. And the proper officers are hereby authorized to issue checks for same, provided there are funds in their respective appropriations. Be it further resolved that the action of the mayor, city clerk, and city treasurer in issuing checks and payment on a ratification list, which includes 19 items prior to the meeting, be ratified. Bills and claims resolution is offered by council members Joseph Delaney and Aaron Delaney. On the roll call, council member Aloya, council member Calendrillo,
Yes.
council member Aaron Delaney,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney,
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes and 1 absent.
The ordinances will table it.
Well, we do need to proceed with the public hearing because it was advertised, and then it could be tabled. So
Okay.
the following entitled ordinance was introduced at a meeting held on November 24th, 2020. It was duly published. A copy was posted on the bulletin boards at City Hall. Copies were made available to the general public, and having complied with the law, this ordinance was not read in full, and the city council can now proceed with the public hearing and final passage. An ordinance of the city of Garfield in the county of Bergen, state of New Jersey, providing for a special emergency appropriation pursuant to NJSA 48:4-53M to fund a deficit in operations of the city directly attributable to COVID-19, which is anticipated to be experienced by the city in the current 2020 fiscal year. We need to declare a public hearing on this ordinance.
On this ordinance, and this is the only ordinance we have today. Would anybody from the public like to talk about it?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, just want the record to reflect that we did not receive any letters and we did not receive any emails from the public regarding this ordinance. And it was duly published and all proper procedures have been taken.
Give them about 15 more seconds. See if anybody will come on from the panelists. Okay. Next.
Oh, you're closing the public hearing?
Yeah, closing it to public.
Okay, so at this time, I heard that there was an intention by the council members to table the ordinance, to lay this ordinance on the table.
Yes.
Is there a motion in a second?
I'll
I
make
make
the
a
motion.
motion.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by council member Joseph Delaney, seconded by council member Aaron Delaney to lay this ordinance on the table. On the roll call, council member Aloya, council member Calandrillo.
Same.
I'm sorry, he said
Abstain.
abstain, okay. Council member Aaron Delaney,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney,
Aye.
Mayor Rigoroso.
Yes.
Okay, we have 3 ayes, 1 abstention, 1 absent. The ordinance is laid on the table. And that concludes all written items for voting at this time. Mr. Mayor and members of the city council.
Yep. We're going to open it up to citizens and taxpayers at this time. Has anybody sent anything in, Joe?
They have not.
All right. Jason, nothing too? Okay. We'll close it out to citizens and taxpayers, and we'll open it up to council comments. Councilman Calandrillo.
Yes, I'd like to just start off by saying, my vote on whatever I vote for on the council is my vote. But it's typical for the Delaneys to make personal attacks. Mr. Delaney, you've been doing that for 4 years. From the time you started talking about my dad on the council to the fact of saying I have relatives that work for the city, which I don't, but you do. You certainly did have quite a few. In fact, I don't have any family working for the city of Garfield, but you like to go personal, and very, very similar to with the last election. But the bottom line is the house that you refer to, I built. I worked very hard for my home, and guess what? I pay close to $17,000 in property taxes. So I don't know why that's an issue, but apparently that's what your issue is with me. So you know what? You talk about being ashamed. The Delaneys, you can't control people. You can't bully people like at council meetings. So I think enough is enough. And going forward, I hope this doesn't happen. I think, Mayor, I'm just going to go on record. I think all city accounts that use the city ID should be part of a city audit. I know that the GARF is a trust fund. It has it's involved with the city, and they get audited. So I think going forward, and I just want this on record, I'm not looking to debate it, but I think all city accounts using city ID need to be part of a city audit. Why it's not, I can't explain that. You know what? I want an answer tomorrow, Tom, please, on the 13 apartments, because it was told to me that the developer that's with the 105, they're looking to put on another 13. Planning board got information on this right after the election. So, maybe it's false information, but I was told it was 100% accurate. So I would like to have the answer to that. As far as the vehicles, the only reason why I asked about the vehicles because they're all newer, and it's a newer program. And it's sad that I got to get information from the street, but it's typical of the 4 years I've spent with this administration. So with that being said, I look forward to our next council meeting. It'll be my final meeting, and just looking forward to it. And everyone have a good night.
Thank you, Councilman. Deputy Councilwoman Delaney.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Calandrillo, I don't control anyone. I don't believe that I have bullied anyone. As Miss Raymond has said to me on multiple occasions, that I should get thicker skin, but maybe she should pass that wise piece of advice on to you. Thank you for sharing your property tax amount, $17,000. With you not supporting this COVID-19 special emergency bond, and if Mr. Loya doesn't join us next week, you can certainly expect that to go up. And that's what exactly we are trying to avoid. But I guess now that you will no longer be on the council, that's not necessarily a priority for you right now. Thank you to our attorney for sending over ordinances that I had asked for. Hopefully they'll be introduced in the beginning of January, being that they can't be introduced now in December. There was one that I requested on November 17th in regards to the hours of operation of our auto body shops. We've been receiving a lot of complaints about late night operations. There's usually just a handful in particular. I think we all know which ones. So until we can get a solid plan that doesn't affect the businesses negatively and that the building department can support, I would like to at least get an ordinance on the books addressing the hours of operation so that they don't operate so late at night. We also received complaints in regards to our garbage pickup times. I noticed, according to Mr. Garofalo, our garbage contractor is able to start picking up a lot earlier than our ordinance, our noise ordinance. So for the next time that we go out to bid, I would just like for both those items, the garbage pickup time in our contract and our noise ordinance to coincide. Because if our noise ordinance is 7 a.m. And they're, waking children up at 6 a.m., I don't think that's fair. So they both need to go hand in hand. I love the property maintenance warning that was shared with the mayor and council before the meeting. I think that's great. I do just ask if we can add something to that about improper recycling. I have been receiving a lot of complaints in the city about improper recycling and our recycling company taking items such as plastic toddler bicycles. And I personally saw like a plastic decorative snowman being picked up. We all know those aren't recyclable by our recycling company. For some reason, they do pick it up. I would rather they leave it and the individual learn that those are not recyclable. But if our property maintenance can include an improper recycling warning, that I think it would be great. And also kudos for them, including the online payment for some of our summonses with the court department now that court appearances are limited. One last thing that I do want to mention, I have started the plastic bag and film collection again that we were doing with the Tracks Challenge to get the free benches in the city. The collection is right now at City Hall. I'm happy to do so. It's something I believe in, but I think this is an issue that's much larger than me. So I would like our DPW superintendent to see if we can place a larger container in the future, not right now, I'm fine with as it is right now, at the DPW and work with a facility. I believe that there's one in Elizabeth that the DPW these items to. Right now, it's still small, but I would like to see expand and the DPW partner with the facility that takes the plastic bags and film until the legislation in the state is progressed even further. With that being said, happy holidays, everyone, and hopefully we'll get that COVID-19 bond ordinance. It's a huge opportunity, and it would be a shame if we missed it past at the next meeting. I personally know of about a dozen municipalities in Bergen County that have already introduced it, and I plan to do some more research to see exactly how many of the 70 municipalities in Bergen introduced it by the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. Deputy Mayor Delaney.
The reason that the state made that money available to cities such as Garfield is because they realize the situation that all cities are in right now throughout the state. And actually, the city is making money by borrowing this money, I believe, at such a low interest rate, than taking money out of our surplus that's gaining more interest in the bank. So in other words, so what I'm hearing is let's
use our surplus where we're getting more interest paid instead of borrowing money, which will be getting a lower interest rate, which means we're actually wasting money. And that is why other states, other cities, I'm sorry, are taking advantage of this. But it is what it is. Everybody knows what it is. Mr. Calandrella made some comments, but it's not worth me even answering him. But he states about family employees. Everybody knows that Calandrella is working in the county, in Bergen County, and he tries to hide it, but it's not. He's not hiding it. So it is what it is. But as far as his attitude, that's just the way he is. Drew, if you can, please reach out to Mr. Lawyer. Our next meeting date is December 22nd. All right, see if he has an issue with that date. If he does, then maybe he has to go, maybe we have to go to another date. But make sure it's before the 31st. So I would reach out to him first thing tomorrow, Joe.
Okay.
All right, and check, if that date's good. And if he decides, it is what it is. And then if we don't get the money, I believe we should set up a committee to consider all options to make up that $2 million, whether it be layoffs, something that we're going to have to deal with, since other council members are leaving it up to us, that they're not spiting us. They're spiting the residents of the city of Garfield. That's all it is. I mean, who's getting hurt? Your DPW worker who might get laid off? Your next door neighbor who taxes might have to go up because of it. I mean, that's who we're hurting. You're not hurting me. I'll be fine. But that's who you're really hurting. And that's all I have to say with regards to that. We mentioned a few people who passed away in the beginning of the meeting, and it's a sad time throughout the United States right now with so many people passing. But we did have two people who passed this week in the city of Garfield who were close to me. One being a gentleman by the name of Frank Parente. Frank, he was, I believe, one of the originals of the Boys and Girls Club Coach Association. Me and Frank started coaching, I would say, 30 years ago together. And he had no children, Frank. He had no kids. Yeah, he had a nephew that played good ball, but he dedicated so much time and effort into the Boys and Girls Club Coach Association, the Boilermakers, and he was just a really good guy, and the city's going to miss him. Another one is a neighbor of all of ours. She lived in Garfield, right on the corner of Elizabeth Street, and her name is Miss Diane Yergovich. And Mrs. Yu, as she is known, always had a smile on her face. Always, she's volunteer at Hackensack Hospital. A really good friend to my family and to the citizen of Garfield. Her family grew up on Farnham Ave, and she's going to be missed. So I like to remember both Mrs. Yu and Frank in our prayers. And also, I see our buddy Romy and our buddy Pavel here. They're looking pretty sharp. Welcome to our city council meeting. You guys take this all in. All right, take it all in. It's going to be useful, and it's going to be good. It's going to be good. So good to see us. With that, that's it there, Mayor. I'm good to go.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, I'm disappointed in that bond not being passed today. We all know it's going to hurt the city of Garfield in the coming months. And I hope Councilman will reconsider. I hope Councilman Calandrella will come on. But if not, we'll figure something out and we'll move forward to see what's best for the city of Garfield. I don't know about these 13 apartments, Councilman. This is the first I'm hearing about it. It just seems like people want to spread rumors all the time. And sometimes we got to see where they're coming from. But I haven't heard anything. I don't think Councilwoman Delaney has heard anything either about such 13 apartments. But I don't know about that. I know I didn't get any emails or phone calls about accidents with our smart cars and anything like that, so it's not really a big deal if a police car gets into a little fender bender, I don't see why the city council needs to know all that information. It seems like that's micromanaging to me. That's why we have a city manager. He handles that. He will see what he should distribute to the city council. And so that's what I just like to address that issue. The winter periods, it's going to be tough this year with the COVID virus. So let's not let our guard down because a vaccine is coming. I think I heard today in Scotland they received their vaccine. So in Europe, people are receiving their vaccine. But let's drop our guard down. It's important that we know that. I see Bob is on, and Tom. Back in November during the election, they passed a referendum on marijuana, on legalizing marijuana. And I know it's not totally complete yet right now, but something's coming down the pike. I don't know where that stands with city employees, with the use of marijuana, city workers, volunteers, things like that. That's something maybe we could get ahead of the game and look into it from other cities' ordinances, from other states that passed such, the marijuana bill. So, when it does hit, at least we'll be ready for it, for our city employees. The holiday season is coming. There are a lot of kids that are struggling. There are a lot of families that are struggling. There are families that are looking for help, from food, for Christmas gifts, to holiday decorations and everything like that. And I know that there have been collections with coats behind the rec center with Garfield neighbors and Strangers Helping Strangers. We also had something for autistic and special needs residents in Garfield this past Saturday at the middle school. It was a huge success. We're doing another one in another 2 weeks. There are presents, and it's hard, because of the COVID and this pandemic. It just seems like it's not like a holiday season ever before. But you know what? We have to do our job to provide some cheer, some holiday spirit in the city of Garfield. Don't let this pandemic, this COVID virus, ruin your holidays. If you have a family, you have little ones, or your parents or your grandparents, go see them. Spend some time with them. Do something. These are your traditions that you will go back to and look at for the rest of your lives. And what you do this holiday season on December 25th and January 1st may mean a lot to some of your family members or to some friends and everything like that. So just not forget about it. Just because it's a pandemic doesn't mean you don't have to go out and see your friends or call them up, drop them a line, an email. Sure, they'll be happy to hear from you. It's tough. It's tough across the board. I know this in our school districts. We haven't been back to school since March, and the social and emotional part of our students, is taking its toll on everybody. But we're doing our best, and the families are doing their best, and then we just gotta hang in there, stay strong, and move on. With that being said, everybody stay safe this week. All right, and we'll see you at our last 2020 meeting. All right, with that, a motion.
Motion, Joe. Second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Joseph Delaney. Who seconded it? Or who motion? I didn't catch.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.